Hi guys, let's have some fun and have a look at creating a dystopian world in Affinity Designer on the iPad. Not just Affinity Photo, but Affinity Designer allows you to have this kind of fun and do this kind of design. It's really useful. With just a few tools that are all built into Affinity Designer, and you can do it on the iPad, no worries. So let's begin. I'll use a standard preset size. Just select photo, as you see, and tap create. So new document, select photo, the standard one there is good enough, and that's 6 by 4 inches. Nothing fancy, and away we go. Now, selecting the image I'm using, just open the stock studio and locate the image. It's right there in Pixabay. And on my display, it's the first one. Very easy to find, just a cityscape. Drag the image onto the canvas. Of course it will be the wrong size, but we can easily fix that in the Transform Studio. I'll show you that next. Set the image centre to the focus point setting. So it's right in the centre, in that square down there. Now enable the lock in the height and width options. You just tap that lock there and it locks it so that it works together. And then reduce the image size to fit the canvas. If you drag down on the width option, for example, it will slowly pull the image in. Now you can get it to just about where you want it and then adjust the size and position from there. You may lose a bit, but that's okay. It's pretty close. You can see the blue outline there on either side, so the image is quite a bit larger in height. But I've got the width, and that's what I want. The red sky and the city street with the already reasonably dark buildings on either side. Now we're going to modify this a little bit and get it looking just how we want it rather than the photo that's there. For security, especially if you're using your own images, you should duplicate the image and lock the original. Unselect the original so that it doesn't show through on other work that you do, and just use your duplicate. Okay, we're ready to start. Next, we need to create a blank base of black and white. So select the Adjustment Studio. That's the box with the 3 dots in it over there. The menu of options will appear, and you can see there's a list there. Now I want to change the display of the options to be little thumbnails. That's quite alright the way it is, but I prefer it this way. From the stack menu option at the top, tap it and then tap the toggle list mode option. You'd say just tap that on and off and it will toggle list mode. The part you tap there, and it'll change it from a list to little thumbnails. Your menu of options will change to look like this. Your image with the options written below. Have a look through that. Quite amazing that. It's very useful when it does that. The first adjustment we want here is black and white, the very top one. So tap black and white and you can see there adjustment applied, black and white. Now the interesting thing is this doesn't affect the image itself. This creates a layer, mask above the image. So you can modify this without actually affecting the image. And as I say, the good thing about adjustments is that they create a layer mask. And this doesn't affect your base image. You can come back and edit the masks by simply double tapping the mask layer icon. So that white square with the little half moon shape in it, just tap that, double tap that, and you can edit the settings in that. So now we have a black and white mask. With the mask still selected, drop the opacity in the context toolbar to 75%. This will allow a faint smudge of the reds existing in the image below it to show through. Not much, just a few highlights. And that's what we want at this stage. Now we can see we're still in the design persona up the top there, the little blue square there. That's the design persona. We're going to move from that shortly. You can see the sky as a faint smudge of red. but we want that much more intense. We need to sharpen the edges as well and intensify the whole image. It's fairly bland at the moment, even without the black and white adjustment on it. It's still a fairly bland image. Just a dark city street. Okay, posterize. Go to the layers panel and select the image layer again. Remember, you're working with the image layer. And select the adjustment studio again and locate posterize. It's alphabetical, so you'll scroll down a little bit. With posterize applied, increase the levels to 8. Now you can see down the bottom in the context menu. That doesn't mean an increased number of colours, it simply means the complexity of the applied effect. You can now see your new adjustment layer in the layers panel. And you can see how they're applied. They position themselves just on top of the image layer, which is just what you want. Still with me? Good. Let's enhance this a little bit. Now let's enhance some of the colours. We want that red sky back and a red cast to the buildings if we can. You can see the buildings, maybe if you look really closely you'll see there's a slight red cast there, but it's not terribly obvious. Now, this has a few moves, so don't get lost. Select the black and white layer, that's the one at the top. Select the pixel persona, that's up the top there, the sort of, what's it look like, a camera lens maybe, all them little blue dots in a circle? Select the pixel persona. Select the brush and set its size to about 186 and leave it black and white. If the brush dot isn't black, just leave it black or make it black. Next, begin painting out the black and white layer in careful strokes to bring back the original red. Your image is now looking much more moody. So you've got a lowering red sky over a very dark image. Now I've also brushed slightly and you can see in the mask layer where I've brushed because it's turned from white to black. Some of the building facades in the centre section I've brushed down a little bit to bring back some of the red highlights on the buildings. That's the sun reflecting through. You can see in the context toolbar that I haven't changed anything except the brush width. That's 186.6. 186 is fine enough. Now, exposure. We now need to add some effects to make the image murkier. It's still too clean. And don't forget to save your work as you go. Do it now. Now you can see that's, although it's a darker image, it's still very clean. It doesn't look dystopian, does it? Apocalyptic. And we all know what that looks like. Now, select the image layer again, then select the adjustment studio again and locate the exposure adjustment and set it as shown. Minus 2.25 in the context toolbar and an opacity of 50%. That's darkened it considerably. And you can see again, you've now got another layer. You should now have 3 adjustment layers. Just what you want. Now we're going to add some fog. Next, go to the Layers panel and select the image layer, then add a new pixel layer. Select the paintbrush and set the brush options as shown there. The width is 512 pixels, the opacity is 50%, and the flow is 25%, and the colour you can see there is not quite white, and I'll show you that in a moment, and here we go. Set the colour in the RGB sliders as shown, 230, 255 and 231. The opacity there is 100%. You may wonder about those colours, but remember there's a posterized adjustment being applied to a lot of this. Now, having selected the pixel layer, carefully brush in some fog for effect. notice it will be posterized. So go carefully, not too much now. Very light touch of the brush, otherwise you'll end up painting it out because brush strokes are cumulative, remember? So there's the colours and the settings all shown there in the various context toolbars. Now that image is starting to look quite dark and brooding, isn't it? Darken the whole image even more with a colour overlay. Select the image layer, select the FX Studio and select Colour Overlay. It should show as black. The whole thing comes up as black. Then you go to the context toolbar, set the blend mode to multiply and reduce the opacity to 20%. And that's brought it right down. Remember, when you switch on Colour Overlay in the FX Studio, this will apply to the image itself. Switch it on by tapping the little button there. It goes to the right and turns blue. Then you have to actually tap the words Colour Overlay. Otherwise it doesn't work, does it? Okay, I think we're done for this one. I don't want to make it too long or you'll get too lost. And now you can see by using those adjustments and adding layers, you can really modify almost any image to make it something completely different. Now that's what it looks like, the finished image. Doesn't look much at all like the original. Experiment with that and have some fun. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe to my channel, and I'll really appreciate it if you do, by tapping the option below this video, the YouTube subscribe button. Click on the thumbs up to like. Now that's a really good way of counting the number of people who actually like the video, and I do really appreciate it.